This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we share a caregiver compilation. We've gathered caregiving insights from John Humphrey, Victoria Moran, Valerie Hollaender, Dr. Ivy Randle, and Nikki Juvan. All have shared their stories on this show. In today's episode, they reflect on how their perspectives on caregiving and life have evolved over the years. Tune in to discover powerful revelations and deep connections between caregiving and personal transformation. Thank you for joining us for our Caregiver Compilation.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, a moment to honor the wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope that resides in our hearts and in our lives. And we give thanks. And now, part 1 of our Caregiver Compilation.
Even though I didn't have a stroke, what hit his life, it hit mine. And so what I'm saying is that just as his life changed, mine did too. So for example, me having to relearn to live. When I think about just basic things, like I have to process what his needs are, where he has to go, what my needs are, and where I have to go, because now I'm the driver. My husband can't drive, so that's a new way of living for me. So when people want to invite us to different functions, I have to think about, like, do I really want to take that drive? Because I'm always driving and never get a break. So I have to think like that. And I think when I think about us traveling, I have to go through different pieces and steps to prepare for him to be able to get on their airplane, get off the airplane, get from the airport to the rental car, all these pieces. And now I have to think about. So it's not as easy as, okay, let's get out the car, let's go on here and walk into this airport and, do what we normally do. I have to always think about how to get my husband from A to B. Do you know that's a life-changing situation for me? I always have to think about it. When I think about, okay, hey, let's stop and go to the grocery store. I need to pick up a few items. I have to think always, do we have the scooter in the car? If we don't, is there a scooter there that's working? All of these things I have to think about and process. So everything I do, I have to think about and process. That is how my life has changed.
I think in the beginning, those first several years, it was all just about learning how to survive and figure all of this stuff out, and the doctor's appointments and medications and all of that. It really took me until, like I said, like the beginning of 2023, when I really said, I have to make some changes here because I can't keep doing this. And I think even it's been up till this point where I can really now say, I am important in all of this. So it didn't happen right away.
Yeah. If you could talk to yourself in those first 2 survival years, what would you say?
I think I would just keep saying, don't forget yourself. Don't lose Nikki. But I don't know that I would have been ready to hear it. I mean, I heard it from other people at that point, but I don't think I was ready to hear it, to really internalize it until fairly recently.
Hmm.
I think I just got to a point where I was pretty low and pretty exhausted and just realized, you know what? You are important in this. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And I know it sounds so cliche, right? Everybody says you have to put your own mask, a gas mask on or whatever on the airplane before you can help others. I finally realized I can't care for him if I'm not caring for myself.
And it was so not me. So I knew that something was happening, that I needed to make the shift. So I think that kind of situation actually helped me to choose, because I just needed to get out of there, and I didn't care what I had in place or what I didn't have in place. And so I think that's what helped me to just go ahead and make the shift and retire and come on out and just you kind of bring a balance to taking care of my mom and my husband at that point.
So the decision became clear.
Yes. Yeah, it actually helped me make my exodus.
That's what I'm working on now, is handling the stress in better ways, watching my diet, and just handling that better. When I compare myself to 4 years ago, I'm happy now. And 4 years ago, I was just devastated. So that's a positive thing, and hopefully it'll help me more with my stress level as well. Most important thing I did is I just needed to learn to ask. I'm a strong woman. I'm, capable. Ron and I have a great relationship and still do. And I thought I could do everything. And then it just devastated me. I'm not able to do anything. And so I learned I need to ask for help. And you know what? I've developed so many more friendships just because I asked them to help me briefly, and they were thrilled to help me. And so my friendships with my other gals have deepened, as well as my relationship with Ron. So that's some of the, because you went through so many difficult times, and I learned so many ways to help handle it, that it helped my life. So even if you say having a stroke, there's never a silver lining, but the silver lining is you're able to really look at your life, what's important to you, and pursue it.
Yeah.
I'm a lot happier.
Yeah.
Yeah. With social media, I've gotten into these groups that meet on Facebook. For example, I go to a coffee club that meets about once a month. And I met a wonderful young woman that organizes these coffee clubs, and you never know who's going to be there. And so I met a woman that just got here from Russia. I met a woman from Turkey. I met a man that does a coffee mug collection. And so that I've broadened my retirement, as a matter of fact. So pursuing the social media things, that's how I found a book club. So that really helped in improving my life.
People rushing to have an experience miss, I think, some of the most important things in life. And so I use that analogy of a warm June evening that everyone acknowledges as a good thing. But if all you can do is sit in a patio and enjoy a June evening, you start to realize just how wonderful and beautiful and rare it is. I'm in Chicago. We get maybe 5 nights of summer before we have awful weather. And there is this urgency around here that when you get warm weather, that people are frantic to try to get their outdoor moments before it's taken away from us. You really see it in the fall when you get that last breath of warm air. When I think the real lesson should just be sitting in your backyard and enjoying the sunset, enjoying the evening, because that's ultimately what life is. And you miss that when you try to make the experience something that's forced into it, that you're shoehorning into it. Well, I see everybody else on Instagram doing this, so I have to do this too. Sometimes it's the slowest things in life are the best, at least I find.
Grief and coming to the conclusion that your loved one has really suffered something that you may not be able to help them with is shocking. And I can just be there for them and go, yeah, it's shocking. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. And typically my first response when folks contact me, be it a stroke survivor or a caregiver, the first thing I say is, I'm sorry you're going through this. Because it is something they have to go through and walk through. And a lot of it is on your own, just because everyone's at different stages.
This was just the way that I knew to do it. It was, again, that like, I have to do something. I have to fix this problem. So I am going to be his cheerleader, and I'm going to remind him to do his exercises, and I'm going to change what we're eating, and I'm going to, all of those things. So I don't know that I would change anything, because it's just how I had to go through it. Going back to that trust that for whatever reason, this is happening and we need to make good out of it. It's been hard because I like to be able to plan things and know what's coming. So it's really taken me a leap of faith that, you know what, I have to just take it moment by moment, day by day. And I think I've gotten better at that, and just, again, trying to focus on this particular day. But it's not easy for me, because that's not typically how I enjoy living my life. There are just certain things that are not in my control. That's one thing that I've learned through all of this, is that I really like to have information and know why and what. And I'm sure that's partially because I like to be in control. I've come to understand that there are things that are not in my control, and I can either really, really stress about that, or I can just take a deep breath and surrender and just say, there's a prayer that I love. Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. And it's like, yep, you need to do this because I can't.
Your turn. Hand it over.
Exactly.
I do still use my breathing exercises that Lindsay taught me. I still do that, and it helps a lot with the stress. I learned this through yoga. You take a deep breath for 4 counts. You inhale and then hold for 4 counts, and then exhale. And when you get to the bottom of the exhale, you hold your breath. And you do that about 10 times, depending on how anxious you are. But it just slows down everything. You're concentrating on breathing, and you're not thinking about everything that's going on and what's going wrong. And so that's what really helps. It just slows down everything, because you're just concentrating on inhaling, counting to 5, and then exhaling, counting to 5, and holding your breath. So it really does help. And you can do it anywhere, I mean, nobody knows what you're doing.
I think I've had to have 3 courageous conversations. The first courageous conversation I had to have with my husband probably was like a day or 2 after the strokes. And what I had to share with him, because it was our reality, not just mine, I had to share with him that I need you to be able to go to the bathroom and clean yourself up somewhat in order for you to come home. Now, I'm sharing this with him being paralyzed on the right side of his body, because my reality was that there was no way that I could take care of my husband 24/7 if he was not able to do those two things. And so what I know that initially he didn't say anything to me negative, but I know that it pierced his heart, but that was our reality. And so from that moment on, I remember very vividly, from that moment on, my husband fought like the Dickens. And what I saw way back then, 6 years ago, I still see to this day. And I credit him being a fighter, and I credit him with all the work that he's put in for himself. Even though he's gotten down, and I'm sure he's gotten down and disappointed, and he shares ever so often that he wouldn't put that what he's going through on anybody. He overcame all of that, and he's fought through, and it has caused him to be as independent as he is. And when I say he was paralyzed on the right side of his body, at that point in his after the trauma, he literally would have to be hoisted up out of the bed into a wheelchair just to get to the bathroom. So that's the place that he's come from. And now we're traveling together. We're going all around the country, out the country. He's doing all of that. And so that's a tribute to him and what's in his heart and how he wanted to get well. And he had me to motivate him. He has his 2 grandchildren to motivate him. He said, I want to play with my grandchildren. I want to be able to get on the floor and play with them. And everything that he said in his heart to do so far, he's been able to do it. And so I am so grateful for that. And that's one of the things that I'm really, really proud of him, because we hear of other situations where people have strokes, or loved ones have had strokes, and it's a totally different story.
There was some gaps in our relationship that was healed because of these 2.5 years. Mom seemed to enjoy my company. I enjoyed Mom's company. Mom had less, she was just really more present actually after her stroke. She wanted to be doing the things that we were doing. And I have a pretty calm life. Monet and I were talking the other day, and Grandma, she said, seemed to really enjoy the calmness of our life after her stroke. And that was really good for her. This life that we lived in those 2.5 years really healed some of our problems before her stroke. So, I mean, her stroke was terrible. I'm not saying it, yay, stroke, but I am saying is that we took it and God made it good. God said, this is really a bummer, but here, take it and make it good. And he did.
I'm still figuring it out as I go along. When you're talking to me today, it's still make it up as I go through it. I still don't know what I'm doing today or how I'm going to do it. It is still a work in progress. But I will say, once the stroke reoriented the way I should view life and the way I should view people, it has helped a lot in other either stressful situations, and it also has helped a lot in the most mundane situations. Sounds cliche, but it did reorient the way I approach everything in my life. Not that I'm a good student of my own lessons. I mean, I still find myself reverting back to being anxious and trying to plan 2 years ahead. But I would say that it has blessed me with the knowledge that it's okay to not have everything figured out in 2 years from now, because you're not going to.
So when he wrote his book, he gave each one of us a chapter. He gave me and our 3 children a chapter. And he said, I want you to tell your perspective as a caregiver. And that just blessed me so, because as I'm walking through this journey and I'm seeing other people go through the same thing that I'm going through, what I'm finding out is that the caregivers really don't have a voice. And who do they talk to that can really understand? It's one thing to sympathize and empathize, but it's another thing when you have to walk the shoes. And when he allowed me to give my perspective in his book, that blessed me to no end. And so after he published the book, he came back and said, babe, why don't you, he said, you know what? I want you to expand on your chapter 3. And I was like, whoa. So here I have my book and is being edited now. And that really blessed me because what it says to me, your work and who you are in this new role is valuable to me. And that makes it a little bit easier because especially the kind of caregiver that I am, and so many are, like a working person, a working spouse, that you have another career, you have another job, and you're trying to do this to keep your loved ones out of a nursing home. I'm not talking about, and I'm not devaluing any other kind of caregiver. I'm just saying in this situation, you are trying to do two major things at one time, and you didn't choose that. You didn't choose that role. You didn't choose that career. And so you're like working double and triple time trying to do both. And really, it's not pragmatically possible, but you can't tell the caregiver that because they're going to continue, even if it does harm to them. And I see that, even that's why the caregiving part, the self-care part for me is emerging and it's coming to the surface. And it is something that I really want to speak about and share, because what good can we be if we're deteriorating in our health trying to help somebody else? So there has to be a balance. It's important to me, and and I'm hoping that this is something that I can communicate with caregivers, because we don't really speak our truth. We really don't share our hearts. And what needs to happen at some point that perhaps the loved one is stabilized is that you have to have that courageous conversation. And I had two courageous conversations, one with my mother and one with my husband. And I had to share with them my humanity side. I had to share with them that I'm not completing tasks, or I'm not doing some of the things that you need to be done just because I'm mean or I don't want to. I said, I'm human and I have to have some rest. And I said, just because we're all living here in the same home, I'm not on call 24/7. So what my role, what I try to do, I try to make sure things are prepared for them. As long as they're clean, they're fed, they have things that are accessible to them. I'll get to the laundry when I can. I'll get to this or that. And what I began to do, I began to say, okay, we have all these different errands. I'm going to put them all together. So I'm not having an errand every single day. So I began to schedule errands where I can make one trip with the errands, one trip with this. And so I began to have those conversations and just share those things with them, because I know when you're sick, you're only thinking about yourself. You're only thinking about your needs. You're only thinking about what you want, but you're not thinking about the person that's trying to take care of you, that they're humans, they're not robots. And so you have to treat them as such and be kind. And be kind. Oh my gosh. In the beginning of that, Molly, I remember sharing my mom. I love her dearly. Bless her heart. She's gone on to be with the Lord. But I have to say, Mom, you can't be mean. That's not, I know how to make a sandwich. I mean, just little things like that. And you have to, I think it's important to be said. You have to be kind to your caregivers. You have to speak life to them, because we're doing the very best we can. We really are. Yeah. But we're not robots. So that was something that kind of came back to me as we were talking and sharing just then.
Good can come from everything, and there's a reason for this. And so I think that if I am able to help another caregiver who's at the beginning of this journey, whether it's providing a resource or just listening and saying, I understand, if I can make it a little bit easier for them, then I can say to myself, okay, maybe this is the reason why. Maybe this is why this has happened, and this is what I'm meant to bring from it to help others. And so it heals my heart a little bit each time I'm able to do that. My daughter was a huge fan of Wicked growing up, and so it was something we listened to over and over and over and over again. And I know very well. And I think it speaks to me because I've been changed forever. My husband has been changed forever. Our lives, our marriage has been changed forever. But we can use this. We can use all of the heartache and the challenges for good to help others. I didn't choose this. I don't know that I'm better for it, but I am going to make the best out of it.
As we close today, we take a moment of pause, creating space for the wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope that our caregivers shared today. And we give thanks. Thank you for listening to part 1 of our Caregiver Compilation. For the full story, listen to part 2 of our Caregiver Compilation. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. We hope these powerful caregiver revelations and insights have provided inspiration and understanding for your own journey. If interested in connecting with other caregivers, join us for our monthly Caregiver Care Partner Zooms or our virtual Caregiver Care Partner Retreat series that begins September 24th. For details, go to www.beyondstillness.org or click the link in this episode description. If this caregiver compilation resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.